Sometimes I hear that a lot. You know, we don't need SWAT teams. We don't need you. We don't need you looking the way you do, and you cause half the problems. Obviously, they've never had to look down the barrel of somebody's gun who wants to take their life or wants to manipulate their life.
Thursday, July 1st, 1993, was a warm summer day in San Francisco. In crowded downtown offices that afternoon, people were wrapping up work with thoughts of the 4th of July holiday. But fireworks of a lethal kind were on the troubled mind of a man named Gianluigi Ferri. Ferri had suffered a decade of business failures, and now he wanted revenge for his financial woes. Just before 3 p.m., Ferri entered a building at 101 California Street in the heart of San Francisco's financial district. There, he headed for the law office of Pettit & Martin on the 34th floor. As he approached the elevator, nobody could know that underneath his unassuming business attire, Ferri carried a deadly arsenal. 2 fully loaded Tech-9 automatic pistols and a 45mm semi-automatic handgun.
And on the elevator ride up, he produced from his law case a couple of the weapons that he ultimately used. As the individual got off the elevator, he turned to the people that were in the elevator and said, "If I were you, I'd leave."
At 2:54 p.m., Ferri walked into Pettit & Martin and opened fire. He first shot through a glass-enclosed conference room, killing an attorney and his client, and wounding 2 others. He then prowled through the law office, firing constantly and at random. Police videotape from the crime scene shows the trail of death and destruction. Patrol officers were the first to respond to the crisis.
When we got off at the 33rd floor, you could see bullet casings on the ground, empty bullet casings, holes in the walls from obvious bullet holes. And you could tell that the shooter was randomly walking around and indiscriminately just firing his weapon.
Then all of a sudden, Michelle Scully came up behind me and was screaming, "My husband has been shot." And she was really bleeding pretty profusely, and I wanted to help her, but she wanted us to go down right away. We got to where her husband was. He was really in bad shape.
Ferri had pursued lawyers Michelle and her husband John Scully into an empty office, where John was shot to death, shielding his wife from the gunman's bullets.
We didn't know where the suspect was. We didn't know if he was going to come out on us or not. But we just thought, well, if we run into him, it's going to be a shootout. And that was it.
Ferri had moved to other floors where he continued firing round after round. By then, the SWAT team was on its way.
We had switched to the channel of where it was occurring, and you could just hear the chaos. And you just kind of get the gut feeling that, man, this is gonna be hell.
You've seen the pandemonium, and you've seen the chaos, and you've seen bodies strewn all over the lobby of this building, and people are being triaged and treated, and all of a sudden reality sets in, and you have to get up there and do a job. You have to go to work and earn your money.
The tactical unit entered the floors and began a stealth search for Gianluigi Ferri. But in the building's fire escape, the end was near. Ferri had accidentally locked himself in the stairwell as he moved to other floors. Now, he was trapped as police officers were closing in on him. He had already killed 8 people and wounded 6 others. There, in the stairwell, the desperate gunman decided to use his last bullet on himself. Gianluigi Ferri was dead, but for the SWAT team, the day was far from over. In the panic, terrorized employees had reported seeing a second armed suspect. So began the tactical team's exhaustive search for another gunman. For the next 6 hours, they cleared every corner of the building's 48 floors, step by step, room by room.
You just fall back in your training, you just keep going. You know, we're here to save lives, and there's people in these buildings that have been there for a long time. We got to get them out and make sure they're okay.
I was in a training class at work, and they went to put a video in, and a news flash came on, urgent bulletin.
Jordan says the gunman was definitely prepared and armed to the teeth with semi-automatic weapons, 2 9mm and
Talking
one...
about a madman with an assault weapon at 101 California Street. I thought for a minute, I said, you know, I think Jody's here today giving a deposition.
On July 1st, Steve Sposato's wife, Jody, had left home to meet her lawyer at Pettit and Martin. That afternoon, she was in the conference room where Gianluigi Ferri started his massacre. As Steve Sposato waited for his wife to come home, he didn't know that Jody had been one of the gunman's first victims.
When I got there, the world became quite surreal. It was kind of almost in slow motion, very strange. Then I went up to where they had the police wagon, and I asked if they knew the whereabouts of Jody Sposato. They told me to have a seat in the Red Cross vehicle. One of the SWAT team guys came out, and it's the last guy out of the building. And I asked him, I walked up to him, I said, is there anyone left in that building? And he said, there's no one left in this building. No one left alive. That comment just kind of hit me.
The random violence of Ferri's murders stunned the world. In a letter police found on him, Ferri accused 30 lawyers, bankers, and real estate executives for his business failures. One attorney was from Pettit and Martin, but had dealt with Ferri only briefly and more than 10 years before. Ferri's true motives were muddled, and his mass killing was seen as the final act of a madman.
The story caused people to think about violence in general, because this guy had a history of problems, and there was a lot of people wondering, gee, why is it that somebody like that can have so many guns? Why is it that somebody like that can have